Hi everyone, it's 8 o'clock and it's day 6 of our Insta Live. And today I'm actually sure there's going to be most viewers, not because of me, but because of the guest who we're going to have. So what I thought is I'll give a little bit of a preamble. This 21 days I decided you have to learn something. I have to learn something that I can be fairly good at in these 21 days, and I should start something I've never done before and do it consistently. So the two things I took on, one is about social media, to get myself familiar with social media a lot more, especially Instagram and maybe Facebook a little bit, Instagram. And that's why I started this Insta Live show, and I want to figure out how to do things on a regular basis. And second thing is how to make rotis in a circular form. I posted a picture of a roti I made on day 1, which looks like, up to your imagination, which country could it be. So it's getting better, so I'll post toward the end how they start looking. So it's something personal, something professional I need to take on. So coming back to social media, the thing that amazes me in social media is that it's used in ways that you never imagined. Whatever you do, sometimes it can be taken in a very, very interesting way. Hey, Sandy is here today. Hi, Sandy. So another big restaurateur. So as Pooja is talking, I'm sure Sandy will have something to comment about what it means to be an entrepreneur in the food business these days. And so anyway, coming back to social media, the thing that I'm amazed at is when you post something, sometimes it can have a huge impact. Sometimes it can have funny consequences. Sometimes it's totally from left field. Somebody could get upset. It's sort of like you have access to this amazing stage, absolutely amazing stage, and you almost can't imagine how it'll be used. So I'll give you a little story of what happened. I witnessed this firsthand. So last year, we were having our Fellows Retreat in Trivandrum. The Fellows program is every year we pick 20 people who we believe are really, really, doing interesting things, out-of-box things from across disciplines. And they are people who are successful and on their way to being absolute rock stars. And we have everybody from art to architecture to technology to business to all sorts of disciplines. And once a year they come to our conference and we be in touch with them. We get them all together. It's a very, very strong community. So we have once a year a gathering of all the Inc. fellows, and they all got together in Trivandrum. And my next guest was going to join me in like 2-3 minutes or so. So Pooja Dhingra was also there, and Pooja is a celebrity. She has like over 1 million followers on Instagram. She's my guru as far as learning about Instagram is concerned. So these two young people, random, some guys. Our Fellows Retreat is an invite only. Everybody doesn't come. It's not an open event. So these two random guys show up at the front desk and they say, "We are here to meet Pooja Dhingra." Now, obviously, we thought then they must be Pooja's guests or something of that sort, because otherwise they wouldn't have known this event was going on. So Pooja goes to meet them, and she has no clue who these people are. And these two young people say, "Ma'am, we saw your post on Instagram that you're in Trivandrum." So now we're still perplexed. How did they know which hotel she is in? So when Pooja was at this hotel, she was showing a dish, saying, "This is my favorite dish," or something of that sort. And that dish was on a plate where the name of the hotel was written in small letters on that plate. So these fans have seen her post and tracked down which hotel she was in and came, and actually if my memory serves, she didn't even say she was in Trivandrum. She just said, "Here is my favorite dish." and they tracked her down and came to the hotel in Trivandrum to meet her. I was completely blown away by this. So anyway, that just to give you a preamble of not just how powerful social media is, to also tell you what a fan following our guest today has. So with that, I'd love to have Pooja Dhingra join us. Hi, Pooja.
Hello. How are you?
Good. We usually love meeting Pooja at Le15 or in her kitchen, in her private kitchen where she entertains all of us. But today we are meeting you in your own home, your own space.
In my bedroom.
Your bedroom. So we get to see a different side of Pooja today in terms of her as an entrepreneur, not just as a celebrity or as a pastry chef or as the Macaroon Queen of India. Those are all other titles. So Pooja, it's great to have you. And both you, Le15 and Ink, we celebrated our 10th anniversary this year. Last year it was 10 years. So I know how much effort went into building what you have, So you want to tell us a little bit about, the size of how many people are working for you, how many outlets you have. Just give us a sense of what you had to deal with, how many people you have working for you right now.
Sure. So, Le15 completed 10 years in March, the 1st of March. So this is our birthday month. We are currently around 100 of us across all our outlets. We have one big central kitchen in Lower Parel where we operate from, and then we have 5 other cafes or kiosks. One Colaba, which is the one where you come and you really like the eggs Benedict. That's our flagship sort of place. And then we have one in Goregaon, we have one in Bandra, we have one in Lower Parel. Now we have a new one in Palladium, which was meant to open on the 20th of March, and now that is pushed to I don't know when. So let's see how that goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now, obviously, when did you first, get a sense of what was going to happen? And what did you in the last month really? All this, catastrophe or this upheaval happened really in the last month, right? Last 2 to 3 weeks. So tell me a little bit about when did you first get an inkling of how serious this is going to be, and just tell the first reactions that you had.
So since about December, we following the news and kind of understanding what's happening around the world, starting with China, we kind of knew what was happening. We do have, one of our investors is based in the US, and when the US was hit before India, and so he kind of gave me a heads up and said that you have to start planning from now. And I think that was really helpful because we were always cognizant of what is happening. Obviously, no one understands the magnitude of things till it actually hits you, and what that, you think you'll be saved from it, or you think that, oh, it's not going to affect me as much. But things got real very soon, and I think that we kind of, took a call first. It was about safety first and kind of understanding how we are, because we deal with food. So it was firstly about let's get the team to understand cleaning and washing hands. That was the first few days. That was what everyone was communicating. And then slowly it was the social distancing started. And, we kind of, I took a call before I spoke to other restaurants and other, from the city, and we just decided that it was too big a risk because all our employees travel by train, they come from far away. And also the atmosphere in the kitchen the last 3 days before we closed was one of kind of, fear and anxiety because everyone was coming from far away. If you had one person who even looked a little bit unwell, everyone else around them became kind of paranoid if, are you unwell?
Right.
Again. So this paranoia, because there was no clarity of what was happening, and just like able to get the team together, and like, so we did actually proper trainings to kind of explain to them what does this virus mean, how does it spread, what is the impact of it, to actually get them to understand the seriousness of it, because we were trying to explain to that before the government started doing what it did. So, I didn't want them to think that this is a chutti, because one day we just, we just looked at everything and we said, we pause everything, and from now on, at least for the end of the month, we take a break, and then we figure. So I actually had to sit down with the team and talk to everyone and be like, I'm in a position that I've never been in before. And suddenly it's not only about, yes, the monetary loss is huge, and it's something that as a business owner, you can't plan for something like this, right? Like you can plan for off season, you can plan for other things, but this is like, never in your wildest dreams would you ever say, oh, I'm going to be in a situation like this. So you take it as it comes. So
what did you have to do, Pooja? I mean, see, on one hand, as a restaurateur, you have certain fixed costs, right? You have the restaurants, you have the rent that you're paid. I mean, you can't, there's nothing you can do about it. And then you have the people. There are permanent employees, temporary employees, and all that kinds of stuff. So how far did you have to go? Do you have to just say, we are stopping everything as we are today, and then when it opens, we'll figure it out? Or you keep some people, say, okay, you stay and then we'll figure it out? Or how drastic has this been for you?
I mean, it's been in phases, and I think the most important thing is for people to understand that nobody is doing this, no one is alone in this, and that this is a global phenomenon that everyone is going through. And whether you are, in a job somewhere, or you're, an investor, or everyone is hit at different levels, obviously, not with the same intensity. So my first thing was, I need to take care of the team and ensure that everybody is safe, sound, that they understand the severity of it, that they take care of their health, and that we can get some component of their salary paid out to them. So this was discussed with them, and actually told them that the restaurant business is one that runs on cash flows. So if you just stop business for 10, 12 days, that it means there's no revenue coming in. So we really, it was a matter of one day where we said it's a tough call to take, and it was just like, let's speak to our, inform all the stakeholders involved. So we spoke to our team, we spoke to our investors, we spoke to all our suppliers, because, we said we are pausing for the next 2 weeks, and we won't be able to make these payments. We had to speak to landlords, we had to speak to malls. I mean, there's so many moving parts to all of this that,
right.
And I think I already feel like 10 years it has, I have grown up a lot in 10 years, but I feel like in the last 10 days, I've probably grown up 10x of that. Because it's a harsh reality, Lakshmi, because the restaurant industry is so fragile that you know that nobody's going to come out of this the same. You know that even if you start, what the economy is going to be like, you're never going to be at full capacity, you're never going to be able to do the same business you're doing. So you have to start looking inward and asking yourself really hard questions that you never thought you'd have to. So it's been tough.
So I was chatting with Pooja yesterday, and we were sharing about how tough it is after being around for 10 years to say, I'm stopping, and the thing is, we can't see where the end is. We don't know when everything is going to go full force. Is it 2 weeks or 2 months or 3 months? Or even we have no idea. So I think one is, Pooja, I think whenever that is, I think you'll find a way to reinvent yourself. The other question I have for you is that there are two things. There's Le15 and there is Pooja Dhingra. They're together but separate things. And you've been doing a lot of things of teaching people how to cook, how to bake, and you do workshops and all those kinds of stuff. So if you take away the restaurant business, which will have to find its own path, if you look at the other thing, are you reinventing yourself to do things out of your kitchen? So, people can do things out of their home kitchens. I mean, people are at home a lot these days. So tell me a little bit about what you're thinking of, how to reinvent yourself in a different way.
So I think it's too soon for me to think of what the big picture is right now. I think the first 6 days of this, I just napped. I just shut off. I deleted Instagram from my phone. I went off social media and I said, I just need time to process everything that's happening and all the different avenues and options. I mean, to me, like, and as ink is for you, it's an extension of yourself. It's what you've built.
Right.
It has your heart and your soul. So it will continue to exist in some shape or form. I'm trying to think of what are the things I can do with it, considering looking at how the world is going to change, say in 6 months, in a year, how eating habits are going to change, how restaurants will change, and then how do we fit in that ecosystem. So there are some sort of thoughts in that direction of where do we take it from here. So that is something that I'm actively thinking of looking at and, planning and plotting with that. Personally, I just, I feel privileged to have this time off and actually say that I am in the comfort of my home and with my family. So it's something that I'm extremely grateful for, that I can be home every day with them. And so I just want to really take this time to just figure what I want to do. There's a lot of learnings, Lakshmi, in the last 10 years, right? Like there's learnings like in the sense of women in business, women with their finances, which I was so skeptical with. I had to go through some really tough times with that. So it's also about, do I want to, do something that empowers women entrepreneurs to take control of their business? Do I want to make sure that people understand their finances better, because I had to learn the hard way, not everybody does. So these are different sort of things that I'm playing around with. Obviously, baking comes very easy. It's something that I don't have to think much about. I know if I go into the kitchen and I'm, given a problem, I'll find a creative solution. So that I'm not too worried about. I know I'll figure that one out. But my biggest question is, how do I take the learnings of 10 years and how do I ensure that, one, that I don't make the same mistakes again, and two, how can my learnings help other entrepreneurs, help them with their journeys?
And tell me a little bit about women in finance. Let's talk about that a little bit. Because I've been talking to some companies that are specifically teaching this, addressing this. So what has been your experience when you came into it? Did you feel you needed to learn, and what do you see around? And I'll share my experience as well, but tell me a little bit about your experience.
I just feel that as women, we're not really taught, and I don't know if it's, like growing up, we're not really taught about how to take care of our money, or like, I think money is such an emotional subject, and even in an Indian scenario where people are not that comfortable talking about money in general. So it's a very like hush subject, especially for women in the house. And I think when I started my business, it was more like, from a place of passion and a place of love. And it was about, but then money is not spiritual, and money is not meant to be, like it will ruin what I'm doing with my passion. And it kind of then became, let somebody else deal with it, and I don't have to deal with this part of it myself. It was only later when then, I got my hands burned a lot with that part, where I figured that, and now that I know the things I know, I was like, why didn't I just know this before? It's so easy. Like, why was this there was such a block? It was mostly a mental block that I can't do it more than anything else. I see that, like I speak to different women entrepreneurs. I was at a panel recently, and there was another woman, running a successful business, and she's like, oh, I handle the creative and the marketing side, and my husband handles the finance. And I was like, it shouldn't be like this. It's fine if he does, but at least it should be something that you know and you can control.
And I think my experience also has been, especially when I was in a big company, when I was at Intel or at a foundation or whatever, you feel responsible for the money, and, you do money in a very different way. But somehow when you start something that's your passion, something that you're passionate about, that you love, and I feel that in my business, I have not brought in that financial trigger. as much as I did when I worked
But
for a
why?
large company.
But why?
Yeah, pardon?
But why?
Pardon?
Why is
So,
that?
I was thinking a lot about, actually the last week I've been thinking a lot about that. And it's because I felt that, like when you have a business rigor, if something is not working, you cut it off and then move on. The way you make decisions is very different. Whereas somehow when you let your personal emotion come into it, you feel that, yeah, it didn't work, but it's okay. I'll just put some more of my money. So it will be better next time. I mean, you are justifying it from a personal thing as opposed to a very professional thing. And so this whole thing, this whole upheaval has actually forced me to think about it in a very, very professional way and say, yes, I love to do this, but maybe I can do it with InstaLive in my house with 2 people, but if I want to run an organization, how does everyone in the organization need to work in such a way that it adds to the bottom line? It's a very different way of thinking. I feel I ran it more like in your home when there are kids, you somehow get something from somewhere, but you don't burden them with the facts. But now I'm like, it doesn't work that way. It's not good for the organization. It's not good for the sustainability of the organization. You have to instill very, very strict guidelines and rules and cash. I mean, of course, we look at cash flow regularly. We look at P&L regularly. We, project revenues. We do all that stuff. That's in place that I do with my core group of people. Yeah. But to make tough decisions, I have not made the tough decisions that I should have made, So I think something like this forces you to make the tough decisions because you can't say, oh, okay, I'll just somehow get through this another week, because it's not going to be a week thing. We really don't know what's going to happen to the economy, when will it come back, and you can't make false promises to people to say, yeah, don't worry about it. It's not like that, right? So, I mean, till now, everything was like that in terms of you could say, yeah, economy is slowing down a little bit, but I know it's going to come back up. Or I could sort of see light at the end of the tunnel. We have these 5 deals in the pipeline. At least 3 will come. And we have managed like that. But now, 0 in the pipeline, right? And you just don't even know what's going to happen. So it's very, very different. So I think this is forcing me to have tough conversations, that I've never had before. So there are 2 levels to it. One is to have the financial rigor and understand the statements, etc. The second one is use that information to make the tough calls that need to be made. Yeah. I think you need to learn both.
I think that the separating the emotion from the factual has been the hardest part and the biggest learning.
Yes.
And it's something that I know that I had to do, and I'm pretty proud of the progress that I've made. And I know that I'm, I can kind of get better at it. But I think just, figuring out where the problem is the first step to solving it. So I think it's...
Yes, yeah. And so in some ways, this is a tough time for everyone, big and small. It doesn't matter the size of your business today. I mean, huge businesses are going through it. There'll be huge amounts of layoffs in large companies. There are people completely pivoting, and there are people who are looking at things. So I think this is going to affect all of us. And what I've learned is that you need to be careful, not just for the next month or 2. You have to be careful for the next 6 months, And so that, because at least that is the shortest amount of distance I can see till when things will not change, at least for the next 6 months. Because even if we come out of this 21 days, the economy is going through such beating that it'll take time for people to come back unless you're making very basic needs like rice and atta and dal, and it's going to be very, very basic things that are people going to be paying attention to. So I think it's learning the financials and actually making the right decisions and not knowing what is the right decision. I mean, it's not like this has happened before and people can tell you, oh, I did this and that was the right thing, but I did this, that was not the right thing. There's no such thing.
I was listening to this podcast by the chef David Chang this morning, and he was talking about the restaurant industry in the US, and he just said that if you're mad at yourself for not seeing this coming, there's nothing that you could have ever done. It's like someone telling you that a spaceship is going to come and UFOs are going to point at you and shoot at your business, and what like how could you ever prepare for that? And so I think that
Yeah.
it starts with just understanding that this is not something, as much as you could, prepare for a rainy day, there's no way that you would have ever imagined this kind of tsunami hitting. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, first of all, just to wrap up our conversation, Pooja, to say that, I want to acknowledge that the work that you put in for the last 10 years, what you brought to India and what you brought to food. I mean, you've huge amounts of followers, etc. And I think and I've seen for the last few years, I've known you personally, and I've seen how much blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. You are non-stop. You never ever sit at home and even enjoy what you make. So I really want to acknowledge that it is a tough time, and but again, it's wonderful to see you actually take some time off and spend time with family. And we were talking yesterday, and the only way we can think about it is that everything happens for the best. Something is going to come out of it. Maybe a new line of food from you, or a new line of business from you, or a new way of thinking about food. I'm sure there's going to be something coming from you that we all look forward to.
I hope so too. Thank you so much for all your love and support, Lakshmi.
Thanks, Pooja. Bye.
See you. Bye.
So, thanks for all our listeners. Just wanted to take a few minutes to wrap up and say that, as I said, big or small, restaurant, non-restaurant, it doesn't matter what the vertical is. We are all going to go through huge, huge, huge upheaval. And I thought about, Ken Lakawara was one of our speakers, and he's the person who discovered the largest dinosaur that was ever unearthed. And he was talking about, these dinosaurs occupied this earth for a long time. They were the masters of the universe, and we are nothing compared to dinosaurs, and they just been wiped out today. And one theory obviously is that an asteroid hit. And I mean, what is the chance of an asteroid hitting anything? So, but it happened in the past. And so I think and I'm not, this is not to like a gloom and doom thing of saying, asteroid is going to hit, we're all going to disappear. But what I mean to say is that when we are going through these tough times, we have to remember that we are nothing. We are just a pale blue dot. We are some tiny, tiny, tiny part of this universe. And we better be really, really respectful of the universe and what it's throwing at us, and roll with the punches and change our behavior, cut down our spending, cut down what we don't need, and share with others what we have. And I think, and yeah, somebody's commenting saying, yes, but I think Corona is more dangerous. Absolutely. I think we are dealing with something unprecedented. I don't think anybody has seen this ever. And because of technology, because of what we have, it spread much fast also, because of how much more we travel today. It spreads much fast also. So while all that is going on, I do believe that this is a time for introspection, reinvention. And imagine, all of us working for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, having companies that have worked forever and having to make very tough decisions of shutting things down, closing things down, pivoting. So I truly invite all of you to reinvent, to look at everything we are doing, from the food we eat, to the way we clean our homes, to how big our homes are, to how many vehicles we have at home, to how much clothing we have at home. It doesn't matter. At every level, let's look at it. So please join us again at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Every day we'll have interesting guests, and I will announce tomorrow who the guest is. And don't forget to follow us at Lakshmi Pratury, LAKSHMIPRATURY. You're already here. And also Ink Talks. And so see you again, 8 p.m. IST tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thank you.